We're on Daf Lamed Aleph, Hamid Aleph, and the second Beitsa, and we're
Was there lunch?
Lunch tomorrow, yes.
What, Charles?
No, tomorrow is, excuse me, salmon cakes, sweet potato fries.
Oh, very good.
You coming?
I'm thinking about it.
Sure.
I ate the other bowl though, thank you.
What time is it?
At noon, 12 to 12:20. 12:20, 12:40 is a shear. 12:45, 1:15 is a shear. 1:20 we daven.
Can I come for lunch and skip this year?
Absolutely. You can get takeout if you want,
Really?
as long as you come.
Delivered?
We're not delivering yet. We got enough to do right this second. Okay, David's waiting on me.
Very well, you get deliverance.
Maine.
That's a good one.
When you deliver, give me a ring, right?
Thank you so much for your support.
There you go. So look.
Alright, you have a good.
Matt, you're the man.
No, bro. Hashem is the man. I'm just trying to hang in there. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Alright, Gemora. We're in the middle of, Rashi.
Samuch v'ibn HaKarka. Oh wait, Samuch v'eina muktzah. It's not muktzah, because he has his das on it.
Right.
Aber mufuzori muktzah, but Rashi implies that if it's already scattered, it's muktzah.
In the
In the parallel.
field.
In the field. Field.
On the carpet, it's going to be okay. In the field, it's a problem.
When a karka, Rashi says, Rashi says when a karka, if you're allowed to do that, Shehu mish tomer. It's already been guarded. Mukach sobra has a fence surrounding it.
Correct.
Filu mufuzor shaboy. It's scattered inside the enclosure. Loi hiktza medaza. He didn't take his das away from it.
Correct.
Somuch la'ir. Next to the city mamish, literally right by.
Right. So he said that Rash is stressing that for Rabbi Huda's heter to work, it has to be mamish next to the city. Nothing interceding between the city and this enclosure. Then his das will be on it. Whereas Rabbi Yossi says no. Afilu.
Besoichat chum Shabbos. Even within the tchum of Shabbos, besoifai.
The very end, right? There's like a 2,000 amma circle around the city, and it can be very far away from the city. Even at the very edge of that, it's okay, according to Rabbi Yossi. As long as the enclosure has what?
It has a as long as it has a fence, I think.
That is what an enclosure is. No. I'm saying in addition to that, it has have something else according to Rabbi Yossi.
Within the tchum
Sorry,
of
just a
Shabbos.
minute. Hello?
What?
Hi, Mrs. Peltz, how are you? Yeah, we're so happy that Fievel's okay, Baruch Hashem. After it happened, I told him we should maybe call you, but he didn't really want, I think he was just wanting to get on with life. But we sat him in a chair, we made sure that he caught his breath and he had his wits about him, and I actually walked him out to make sure he was doing okay. And then I called him a little while later, so it seems like he's okay, but with concussions you can never 100% be sure. So you have to just keep checking. Yeah. I would call him anytime that it's possible just to see how he's doing. Yeah. That's good. I guess it wasn't brought on by anything in particular, just that he didn't really have his concentration on what he was doing. He told me he was looking at a poster on the other side of the hallway instead of really concentrating on the stairs that he was going down. Yeah, I know. I'm sure they're all contributed to what was going on, but I think he's okay now, Baruch Hashem. Just has to know that he has to be more careful. But I told him he has to concentrate and not just do something without it's unfortunately you have to really think about it as you're going down the stairs, so you make sure you're really doing it properly. Not used to that, obviously. Well, he said there's some place nearby where you live that there's something wrong with maybe with the sidewalk or something like that. I don't know what he said, but something along those lines. And he said he knows there he has to concentrate not to fall. But whatever. Thank God there were people around. Right away, people, helped him sit up and helped him everything. So thank God. Eventually, we realized he's okay. But it took a few minutes till it all became clear. All right, well, we love him very much, and he's very precious to us. I'm glad to help in whatever way I can. All right, we should only hear Besaros Tovos, Mir Hashem. Yeah, thank you. You too. With regards to all of your family. Okay, be well. One of our guys had a bad fall at lunchtime. Thank God he's okay. Okay, sorry. We finished the Mishnah. We're ready to start the Gemora.
Yep.
Go ahead. Surely you take it away.
Amar Behuda Amar Shmuel. Behuda said the name of Shmuel. Ein mevin eitzim. Ela min kointzim shubakakov. You can only bring wood, something that's gathered it's already been gathered inside the karkav itself. Yes.
So is that what we've learned already?
No, Mishnah says min asode.
Okay. So let's see how the Gemara deals with that.
For Ha'anat Tanan, but we learned min karkav. We learned it from an enclosure. Afila Mufoz and it's already been scattered.
We keep saying already been scattered. Everything starts out as scattered.
Afila if it was scattered.
Usually once something is like, things are scattered, and then if you want to make an order out of it, you pile it up. Kind of starts out scattered, a mess, and then you clean up, you make a pile out of it. So they're saying, even if you never made a pile out of it, right? That's what we said. A pile really means you prepared it from Erev Yom Tov. If you don't need to make a pile, that means you don't really need to prepare it from Erev Yom Tov. But he's saying, Shmuel said what?
You cannot bring wood only that's...
Even if you are dealing with wood that's in a karpef, you have to have it, what? Gathered together, meaning you have to have gone Erev, according to Rashi, the Pshat, and that is, you have to go Erev Yom Tov and pile it up and to show that your das is on it. Right?
Yes.
That's what happens when you pile up wood. You're showing that you want to use it the next day. So other than that, if it's just mifuzar, if it's just scattered all about and you haven't done anything to prepare it, according to Shmuel,
it's muktzah.
It's still muktzah, and you can't gather it, you can't take it home on Shabbos, on Yom Tov. So this is a problem. Our Mishnah made it clear that if it's in an enclosure, you don't need to pile it up from Erev Yom Tov. It's not going to be muktzah without any preparation even. But Shmuel's saying, no, you need preparation. Right?
Yes.
So now we have a problem, because the Mishnah said you don't need to prepare it if it's in an enclosure. And Shmuel's saying you do need to. So it's not just a contradiction, but it's a contradiction we can't allow.
That's a question. Our Mishnah says you don't have to bring it.
You don't have to have it gathered up from Erev Yom Tov to prepare it in order to be able to handle it on Yom Tov. Right? Since everything is a muktzah issue, the whole question is a muktzah issue. So we have to, in order to be able to move it, it has to be non-muktzah. Right?
Yes.
If you don't do something to make sure that it's not muktzah, that means it is muktzah.
Correct.
So I know that if it's in the open field, I need to come Erev Yom Tov and pile it up to make sure that I did a hachana to show that it's not muksa. But if it's in an enclosure, our Mishnah said you don't have to make that hachana. You don't have to come the day before to take off the din of muksa. Right?
Yes.
So now we have a problem because Shmuel is what?
Shmuel is a Yachid, right?
That's one thing, but he's also an Amora.
Yeah.
And how can he argue with our Mishnah? How can he come along and say that our Mishnah's wrong? He's not allowed, he's only an Amora, he's not a Tana.
Yes.
So when the Gemora asks these kinds of kashas, we can expect an answer that what?
Mas, it's a Yachid.
No, it's not going to help you. Think about what I just said. He's an Amora, and ideally you can't have an Amora argue with the Mishnah, with the Tana, right?
Yep.
How do you save him from that?
He has a Tana to support him.
Oh, now you said something with logic. Now you said good. So we'll have to find some other Tana that will go like him. Then he's going to be saved. Right? But there's one other thing that's got to be answered, which the Gemora is going to do in two. Both are they're going to get answered at the same time. A, we have to find a Tana who he could say he's relying on that Tana. Also, there has to be a reason why he prefers that other Tana over and above our Mishnah.
Yep.
Like even if there are two Tanoim, why choose that one that's not our Mishnah? It's like saying, when Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi made this Mishnah, he thought this Mishnah was the halacha. So how could you come along and make a decision against that, even if you find another Tana? Why would you go like that other Tana against our Mishnah? It's like against Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. Why do that? Why pick a fight with Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi? Right? You've got big shoulders.
Who's the Yachid? It's the Tana that's the Yachid.
Who? What?
Who's the Yachid here? Who's the minority?
No, I'm saying before the issue of minority. Just the first issue that the Gemara raised, in my opinion, was how can you, Shmuel and Amora, argue with the Tana?
Right.
So we know already from all of our training that the way that Gemora would try to avoid that and try to get out of that kasha would be to say, okay, it's true, Shmuel looks like he's against the Tana, but if I find another Tana, then he's okay. It saves him from being against the Tana. Right, but there's still another question, which the Gemora here is going to answer in one fell swoop. It's going to answer both of these. But there's another question hiding behind the scenes.
Why prefer it?
Right. Even if you find another Tana, who told you to go like that Tana against our Mishnah? Because the Mishnah is not only a Mishnah, it's also, in a certain sense, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi's sock. So why go against it? Why decide to go against it, even if you have another Tana? Anyhow, okay, so the Gemara comes along to answer both kashas really at the same time, and it says what? Oh, now we answered both in the same moment. That first of all, our Mishnah is what?
Our Mishnah is referring to the Tana. It's talking about a Yachid.
It's according to only one opinion, a minority opinion. That turns out that our whole Mishnah, we'll see soon how that makes sense so far.
Until our Mishnah is according to only one opinion.
And it's not just one opinion, no. That's more than, that's what I said to you before. That's part of the answer, is to say, oh, our Mishnah's like one opinion, but Shmuel's gone like another. But we're also trying to answer up at the same moment the other kasha that I raised. Even if there are two Tanoim, why did you choose to go against our Mishnah? So saying because, first of all, there's another Tana, that's true. But not only that, but this Mishnah is going like an opinion of a Tana that's a Yachid. You know what that means to be a Yachid? It's like how you felt in the airport in Ethiopia. All alone.
Well,
Nobody there who's like you.
Look, when I went around Ethiopia, they had a minion in the
did?
over there.
Wow. I never imagined they'd have a minion over there. That's great.
Yeah.
You're so lucky. We didn't have that one.
Almost missed my flight.
Oh, well, I'm glad you didn't miss your flight.
Maybe just in time.
There are cases of people who miss their flight and then they saw later why that was.
They make you check you 3 times now.
3? Why 3?
Once by the machine.
Yeah.
Wait, this. Once they take off about dinner, and then I think they check you 2, then they check you again.
Well, gives them something to do, you know. Otherwise, if a guy has too much time on his hands, you know, he could do something violent. Better they should just be checking.
Especially this one.
Yeah. All right.
They asked that question in the hospital, why do they make pills? Why? No true force, pills.
You know, we're being recorded here.
Oh, okay.
Because if you
You can tell me in the car. All right.
Gives us
Yeah,
something
I'll
to
tell you in
do.
the car park.
Okay.
So we should
So-
go to a yachid, right?
So saying it's a yachid accomplishes both at the same time. We now understand that he's going like another Tana. That saves him from going against one Tana because he has at least another Tana to back him up. But also, it explains why he chose to go like the other Tana against our Mishnah. Because our Mishnah really is a yachida. It's only a das yachid. What does that mean?
Only one individual.
No, more than that. It's one against the many.
One against
It's like if you have one opinion against 99, right? Who are you going to side with? The 99, right? The Torah says, Acharei Rabin Lahatos. The Torah says you should always go like the majority opinion. You know the famous kasha that the Goyim asked Rav Chanan Wasserman. It says in your Torah that you have to go like the majority. Well, the majority of the world doesn't believe in the Torah. So you have to go like the majority. He said, no. We're told to go like the majority of Chachamim. Those people aren't Chachamim. So, what's Shmuel saying? I chose not to go like the Mishnah, because our Mishnah is like one particular opinion. Happens to be against the majority. So, how should he pick?
majority.
Like the majority. So that's answering both questions at the same time. I'm not going against a Tana because I have another Tana on my side. But why did I choose to go like that Tana? Because they're the majority.
Wow.
Whereas this Mishnah is a minority opinion, which we're only going to see now when we...
Is this a Stam Mishnah? No.
It is a Stam Mishnah, but I guess we have to say that not every Stam Mishnah is a majority, right? Is like the Gemora says, Stam Mishnah Rebbe Meir. This isn't going to turn out to be Rebbe Meir, but it is going to turn out to be one particular opinion that, according to Shmuel, okay, maybe not everybody even agrees with Shmuel, but according to Shmuel, from the Beitsa that he's about to bring, he's trying to prove that our Mishnah is like a Das Yachid, and there's a majority against it, so that's why he chose the majority over the minority. Okay, so let's see the new Beitsa, the new evidence that he's got to show that he has a right to go like the other opinion.
What's this? The Tanya that we learned in the Beitsa.
That's right. Why do I choose to go like the other? Because we learn in a Beitsa that what?
Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar.
Right.
Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Noi nich loku beishamo beisila al hamuzorim shebesodos. Beishamo beisila, don't argue on a wood that's scattered in a field.
Correct.
She'ein mevin al
No. She'ein mevin.
she'ein mevin.
They all agree that what?
Not allowed to bring it.
Not allowed. Meaning, in our wording, we might say it the following way. Everybody agrees that that's muktzah. Okay?
Yep.
And remember, we're going to show that our Mishnah is a Das Yachid. So you know who the Das Yachid is? Rav Shimon ben Elazar. This opinion that we're now reading, Rav Shimon ben Elazar.
This is what we should.
Okay.
The Al Hamukunzin Shibakakav would he gathered in enclosure.
Also, they don't argue. That's what the Vav is. Vav is, and they also don't argue on the following case.
Also, not we're going for on the case of wood that's been gathered in enclosure.
That they all agree that what?
That
You are allowed, that it's not muksa. So everybody agrees if it's scattered in a field, it is muksa. And everybody agrees if it's gathered in an enclosure, it's not muksa.
Yes. The argue on wood that's
Case of
wood that's been scattered in an enclosure, but the wood that's been gathered in a field. Shabesha Arim Lo Yevi. Beishama says you're not allowed to bring the wood on Yom Tov. Beis Hillel or Amrim, Beis Hillel says Yevi, you're allowed to bring the wood on Yom Tov.
okay, so let's just gather our thoughts, no pun intended. And let's talk about what he's saying over here. Right? We didn't even know till now it was a Maklokas Beishai and Beis, right? Our Mishnah doesn't let us in on that. That's already one thing that's interesting about our Mishnah. In our Mishnah we see a Maklokas, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosef, but it's going to turn out that they're only arguing in Shitas Beis Hillel. But now, all of a sudden, we realize from this Beitsa two things. One, that there is a Maklokas Beishai and Beis Hillel over here, which is interesting that we weren't allowed to know that in our Mishnah for some reason. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi sort of kept that from us. But also, Shmuel is saying that if you noticed, our Mishnah is exactly like what?
Our Mishnah is exactly like Rabbi Yehuda and Shmuel.
No. Rabbi Yehuda and Shmuel said you cannot collect wood unless it's been already gathered from Erev Yom Tov.
Our Mishnah is like the Yachid.
No, when he's saying it's like Yachid. But who's the Yachid? Reb Shimon Elazar.
Yeah.
Who's now telling us that really Beishai Beis Hillel argue in which case?
Okay, so wood that's been scattered in an enclosure and wood that's been gathered in a field.
Right. It hasn't been scattered necessarily, but it is scattered, right?
It is
Maybe it
scattered.
started as scattered wood. I don't know. It's scattered around. Wood that's scattered around in the enclosure. Beishai Beis Hillel argue about. What do they argue? What's their position on wood that's scattered around in an enclosure?
According to Beishama, it says you're not allowed to bring it.
Not allowed. So is our Mishnah like that?
No.
And Rav Hillel says what?
You are allowed.
You are allowed. Is our Mishnah like that?
Yes.
Yes. So it turns out our Mishnah, the way Shmuel is explaining it, is like Beis Hillel, but not the majority opinion of Beis Hillel. Like the minority opinion of Beis Hillel. Like Reb Shimon Elazar's opinion of Beis Hillel.
He says Reb Shimon Elazar says, right?
Yeah, this is all Reb Shimon Elazar's opinion. But according to Shmuel, not everybody agrees with Reb Shimon Elazar. The Chachamim would not say what he's saying.
Our Mishnah is like the minority of Beis Hillel.
Right. Because according to Shmuel, he says the halacha is the starting point of our Gemora was Shita Shmuel. What did Shmuel say?
Halacha is like.
No, Shmuel didn't say the halacha is like. He just said what? You're allowed to take wood
You're allowed to take wood that's been.
only if it's been
gathered in an enclosure.
an enclosure. So he needs it to be in an enclosure. So he can't take it from a field either. And he needs it to be gathered up. So let's argue with our Mishnah on 2 points. Because our Mishnah said if it's gathered, you can even take it from the field, the open field. Right?
Yes.
And he's saying, no. You can never take it from an open field. Even if it's gathered. But when can you take it? Only if it's gathered in an enclosure.
It has to have an enclosure, it too has to be gathered.
That's right. It's like you need 2 milas. Right? I need to be in an enclosure and gathered up already from Erev Yom Tov.
Which means that the Chachamim say majority of Beis Hillel says you have to have 2 miles, right?
Exactly. So it turns out, if you think about it, okay, if you think about it, Shmuel's opinion is that what is the halacha like? Like Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion of Beis Shammai. Right? What did Rav Shimon Elazar say in Beis Shammai? The only thing Beis Shammai will allow you to take is what?
Beis Shammai says, let's look.
He said everybody agrees that what? You could take it from Mechunasim Shebekarpeh.
Yes. Only take if it's been gathered in a kosher.
Right. That's according to Beis Shammai, right? Because Beis Hillel would say, no, the two middle cases will also let you take, according to Rav Shimon Elazar.
Yeah.
So we have a very interesting thing over here. The way Rav Shimon Elazar explained the Shitas of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, then our Mishnah was projecting Shitas Beis Hillel according to Rav Shimon Elazar.
Yep.
So Shmuel says that's a das yachid. That's an individual opinion. That's Rav Shimon Elazar's opinion of Beis Hillel. That they would allow you to take wood if it's been gathered in a field, or even if it's scattered in a karpeth. But Beis Shammai, according to Rav Shimon Elazar, would only let you take it if it's...
The Shammai says that only if it's been being gathered in a kosher.
That's right.
So
And
what's
now-
the between the two miles of Beis Hillel then? Seems like the same thing, is it?
Again. There's two milas, potential milas, okay? Karpeth and Mechunas, right?
But the Shammai seems to be saying
Now,
the
do
same
you need
thing.
both of those together? Do you need both factors, like the 1-2 punch, as it were?
No.
So that depends. According to Reb Shimon Elazar,
We don't need it.
in Beis Hillel, one factor is enough. Either Mechunas, even without Karpeth, which is like an open field,
Either in the kankif or if it's gathered.
exactly.
Either this or that.
That's right.
No.
That's in the Beitsa of Reb Shimon Elazar, the way Beis Hillel holds. And that's what he says. Beis Shammai argues against that, but that's fine. You know, our Mishnah can go like Beis Hillel because we pass like Beis Hillel. So it turns out, according to Shmuel, you know what Reb Yehuda Nasi did when he wrote our Mishnah? He only brought the opinion of Reb Shimon Elazar, and only the opinion of Reb Shimon Elazar in Beis Hillel.
Yeah.
That one of the two milas is enough. So let's review. In the Beitsa of Reb Shimon Elazar, what did he start out by saying? If you don't have any of the factors, it's mefuzer in a sadeh,
If you don't have kol to be Shimon.
right? Hakol, what did he say? Divrei Hakol. How does he start out the Beitsa?
Tanya Shimon also lo nichachu by Shammai Beis Hillel al fozim shebesados.
Right. He says they don't argue if it's mefuzer shebesados. Now mefuzer shebesados doesn't have any milah.
Yes.
It's not mechunas and it's not karpeth.
So it's muktzah.
What?
It's muktzah.
So he says everybody agrees. So this even Reb Shimon Elazar says everybody would agree, which means even Beis Hillel would agree that it's muksa. Doesn't have any milah. And also he says everyone will agree what else? On the other side of the fence. Excuse the pun. If you have both milas, which is what? Mechunas and in a karpeth,
Yes.
then everybody agrees
That you can bring it.
that you can.
Well,
Meaning even Beis Shammai agrees that's okay.
So I'll give you only have one of them.
That's right. And if you only have one of them, Beis Hillel says it's okay. And Beis Shammai says it's not okay. So if you think about it from Beis Shammai's perspective, when will it be okay?
You have two factors together.
Only if you have both. Right? Which is exactly the case of Shmuel. That's what Shmuel said at the beginning. You can only take it if it has both milas of mechunas and karpeth. So it turns out he's saying like Beis Shammai, right?
Yes.
But what would Shmuel say to you? No. You think that's Beis Shammai, because that's what Reb Shimon Elazar told you. He brainwashed you, right?
Yes.
Now the way you think is that that's Shitas Beis Shammai.
Not
But
true.
I would say
It's Beis Hillel.
that it's a Das Yachid. That's what he said about our Mishnah as well, right? He said our Mishnah is going like Reb Shimon Elazar. And that means everything we just saw about Reb Shimon Elazar. How Beis Hillel thinks and how Beis Shammai thinks. That's all Shitas Reb Shimon Elazar. But Shmuel would say what? That was his opinion about what they argue in. But I say there was a Chachamim who argued against him. You know what they held?
Chum hold that you only need one of them.
No. Shmuel himself
Says that he holds
says you need both. And when he was pressed, they said, how can you go against the Mishnah? He said, the Mishnah is a Das Yachid. Right? That means it's Reb Shimon Elazar. That's what Rashi says he meant. When he said Das Yachid, he meant Reb Shimon Elazar. Right? Kol Tuv.
So you need both. You don't need Das Yachid, right?
If he's a Das Yachid, if Shmuel is right, and Reb Shimon Elazar is only a Das Yachid, that means what do the Chachamim hold? According to Shmuel, you can see what they hold according to Shmuel, because he says you need both milas. And do you think he's going like Beis Shammai? No. He wouldn't go against Beis Hillel. So according to Shmuel, he's going like Beis Hillel. And he's saying what Reb Shimon Elazar said, that Beis Shammai requires, both milas.
So we heard Shmuel's going like Beis Hillel already.
I have to assume he's going like Beis Hillel, but not the Beis Hillel that we see in Reb Shimon Elazar. But that's what he said. That's a Das Yachid. But the majority hold that's not the pshat. Either you could say the majority held that there was never a machlokus Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel in this matter.
Or you could say that all agreed if you only have one of them.
No, if they're arguing if they only have one of them, then we should pass like Beis Hillel that what? You only need one of them. But Shmuel says you need both.
So it means
You can't go against Beis Hillel.
It means you're going to call the majority.
The majority hold that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel never argued about this. Not like Reb Shimon Elazar says. Everybody agreed you need both milas according to Shmuel. That means everything we saw in the Beitsa that Reb Shimon Elazar says, oh, they didn't argue in this, they didn't argue in this, they only argued this. That's all his opinion. But there's a Chachamim somewhere, according to Shmuel, that don't hold like that.
Yep.
They either say that they never argued. That's what you have to say, really. That they never argued. They didn't argue. Everybody holds you need both milas. Right? That's what Shmuel says. You need both milas. And he has to be going like Beis Hillel. So that means there is no machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel according to him. Okay?
Yes.
So that means according to him our Mishnah is irrelevant. It's not the halacha because it's the Das Yachid. That's why he paskin that you need both milas. Not because we're going like Beis Shammai. Because he says that's what you think. You think it's Beis Shammai only because you're going like Reb Shimon Elazar. But you have to realize he's a Das Yachid. And the Chachamim never said that that's Beis Shammai. They say that's Beis Hillel. Meaning there is no machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Everybody agrees you need both milas.
Yep.
Right? So according to Shmuel, the halacha would be you could talk about both milas. Now that we know that there are two factors, two milas to talk about, you say according to Shmuel, if you have only one mila, everybody agrees. Lo nechleku. Everybody agrees it's what?
Not allowed to use it.
Not allowed. You have to have both milas to take off the din of
So
Mukasor.
they can put like Beis Hillel.
And that would be both, it might even be Beis Shammai, but it's certainly Beis Hillel. Because you can't be going like Beis Shammai against Beis Hillel, that doesn't fly. Okay?
Then the Gemora always have an answer for everything.
No, there's some Gemoras that are Teku, some Gemoras end up with the word Kasha, which means there is an answer, but we're not going to give it right now because it's too difficult. There are Gemoras that don't quite resolve everything. That's why the word Teku, you know what the word Teku means? Tishbi, Yitaretz, Kushos, V'abayos. We hope that Eliyahu Navi will come, and his nickname was Tishbi, because he was from there, right?
Yeah.
Eliyahu Tishbi. And he'll come and be Mataretz, Tishbi Yataretz, Kushios, things that the Gemora leaves as a kasha, V'bayos, things that the Gemora said Iboy and then didn't never answer necessarily. Eliyahu Navi will come, he has a lot of work to do when he comes back, a lot of things to answer up that were not resolved in the Gemora, as well as he's going to clear up everyone's yichus. He's going to tell everybody what the real yichus is, right?
Which is the yichus?
You first of all, what shevet are you from? Do you know what shevet you're from?
No.
Would it be nice to know what shevet you're from? And besides, depending on what shevet you're from, that your chelik of Eretz Yisrael will be different, right? If you're in a certain shevet, you get a certain chelik of Eretz Yisrael. Another shevet gets a different chelik. That's going to have to be decided also. Right? You may not end up living in
What?
You may not end up living in Hellstone after Mashiach comes. You might be given, I don't know, a plot of land in the old city for all you know. And Shabbatai might have to live in Telstone. Right? It could be worse, because there's other places like Menashe's on the other side of the Jordan River.
Don.
That's right. Don is far north, right?
Tel Aviv.
No, Don is up north. Up north, by the Banyas.
So he lives in Tel Aviv.
No, they call it Gush Dan, but it's not the real. If you look at a map of the old, where all the places were divided up, Don's Caleb was way up by the Banyas. You ever swim in the Banyas? Up by Mount Hermon. You ever go to Mount Hermon?
Long time ago.
Well, that's in. I'm pretty sure it's Don, the Caleb of Don.
And here's Tel Aviv.
No.
Yisachar maybe. Well, they had Chof Hayam. They had the coast. I don't know. You have to look in a map. I have a Sefer Yoshua at home put out by Art School. It has a map, a definitive map of a lot of these places where they were awarded lands. I don't know if it'll be the same one. We might have to do a whole new Gora. It'll all depend on what your shevet is. It starts out starts out with the shevet, and then
They have to rebuild the roads.
you're going to have to do a lot of things, right? You're going to bring back the 10 Shvatim that are lost. There's 10 Shvatim out there somewhere that are lost.
They have to rebuild the roads.
Maybe they'll keep the roads.
If they're going to expand any sorts of Nahar Press, they have to make new roads.
Maybe. All right. In the meantime, are we good?
Yep.
Okay, let's go on. Amarava.
Rabba says, Alei Kanim, Alei Gefanim. Means reeds, what's Alei be branches, right?
Leaves.
Leaves of reeds for Alei Gefanim, leaves of grapevines.
Right. Grape leaves. Some people say it's a delicacy.
Avagav the Mik Nafshi.
Which means he gathered them. So that's like Mechunas.
Where's the McNuffin is gathered?
It's an Lebanese dish. Rice, grape rice. It's a Lebanese dish.
Ah. All I know is that my wife has a very good Sephardi friend, a Moroccan woman who loves. I heard her telling my wife the other day how much she loves grape leaves.
We love them. We eat them all the time. We love them.
And we used to have a fellow here who came in the afternoon shiur named Bob Kaplan, Yerachmiel Kaplan. He was a chef as well. Not as professional as Matt, really, but anyhow, he used to talk. I think even one time he prepared for one of our yeshiva meals a thing with grape. He brought it in one time. Could be after this Gemora, because I think he learned Beitsa with us. Okay, so Mechan Filahu, they gathered them.
Gathered them.
Umusvi. And literally you settled them down. Right? In other words, you gather them and settle them down.
Musvi. Settle them down.
So let's say with wood you don't need to do that. It's enough just to gather them, right? But with leaves that can blow away, you need to settle them down. Because you don't want them blowing away. Remember what Rashi said in the Mishnah, Samich Alayhu? You're somich on them. You know what it means to be somich on something? Yeah, that was two things. If you look back at the Rashi, said two things. Your das is on them and you're somich on them. Somech meant that you're relying that they'll be there the next day. A part of this whole subject is, can you rely that they're going to be there the next day?
Okay, how was that?
If they're on your property, you can rely they're going to be there the next day. But they're outside of the city. Can you really be sure they're going to be there the next day?
No.
And if they're not going to be there the next day, or you're not really sure, how can you say your das was on them? You knew they might not be there the next day. So part of your das being on them is to be able to rely that they're going to be there the next day.
Yeah.
So Rashi's saying that's part of the formula. You have to be able to be sure they'll be there the next day. So for example, Rabbi Yossi, who said I needed to be locked up at night, you have to have a lock and key. One of the reasons he might have said that was because you have to know it's going to be there the next day. How are you going to know if it's not locked up? Some Bedouin is going to come and take his winter supply of wood from your car pave.
Yep.
How do you know it's going to be there the next day? And if you don't know it's going to be there the next day, how can you say your das was on it? You knew it might not be there the next day. So Rav is saying, so with wood we said what? If it's gathered up, that's usually enough. Right? Even if we passing like Shmuel, what did Shmuel say? You need 2 milas. Mechunis
And it has to be.
and in the carpet. But with leaves, if you just gather them up, they might blow away. Wood is not going to blow away unless you have a hurricane or something. But leaves, they often blow away. So how are you going to know they're going to be there the next day? We know you have to be somach on them also. Not just I intend to use them tomorrow, but you have to say, in order to say your das was on them, you had to know they're going to be there the next day. How are you going to know leaves are going to be there the next day? You know the leaves are going to be there the next day?
No.
So he says 2 things. Gather them and settle them down. Mechanfi lahu umusli. Gather them and then you press them down. And you think maybe you come back the next day, they'll be there, right? Rava says no. Even if you did both of those things, which are very important things, because that helps you have das, but still you don't know for sure that it's not going to blow away.
Yep.
Because even if you did gather them and you did settle them down, they still might blow away. And that's no good if you can't rely on them being there. So he says what? Even if you went ahead and gathered them up, umusli, and you settled them down, still not enough. Because why?
We've seen
Kivan
since that the Haim
Te'i.
Medale Zika.
You know what a Zika is?
The wind
That's right. Medali
blows.
gets raised up.
Medale
The wind gets raised up.
Medale means get raised up.
So what happens when the wind gets raised up, when the wind blows up? Everything that's on the ground
It's
is,
blown away.
and very often, mevader lahu.
How do we know that Ziki is wind?
What?
How do we know that Ziki is wind?
Zika?
Zika?
Well, I believe that it's a known word in Chazal, and assume that we know that word.
Probably somewhere.
I've seen it elsewhere, so I'm also included on that. But the truth is, it's like many words. If you don't know the word, you don't know the what?
Probably in Tehillim somewhere.
I mean, what is it related to? Could I
No,
relate
no,
it
I'm
to
saying
another
it's
word?
probably written in Tehillim somewhere.
No. Remember, again, this is all Aramaic. Don't get confused.
Right, right.
These words are all Aramaic words,
Mhm.
right? E is an Aramaic word, not a and lahu, right? Mechanfi lahu. Lahu is an Aramaic word. You're aware of that, right?
Right, right.
So this is all an Aramaic sentence, right? It's not necessarily that you're going to find it in, but you might. Sometimes the word in Aramaic, especially when it just ends with an aleph, often that's just a cover, and it's really a Hebrew word with an aleph stuck on at the end, like Abba instead of Av, Im instead of Ain. So maybe you're right. Maybe there are places where you could find it in Hebrew or Tehillim or something. You have a concordancia. In the old days, they had a sefer that every single word in Tanakh is in this book. It's almost like a dictionary for Tanakh. And you can track down any word that you know might be in Tanakh, or you know is in Tanakh, and you find out where it is in Tanakh. Today, you just do a Google search or something like that, right? So I don't even know if they sell concordancy anymore, but I used to love to use a concordancy for that kind of cross-referencing. So you could look it up, see if there's a word in Hebrew or in that one of the Tehillim like that. In any event, okay, so what's it saying, Sruli? Kivan, since if
it's
the Zika, if it's Medali, the Zika, if it gets raised up,
Vadar means it's get blown about, right?
Scattered.
Scattered.
Vadar is the Aramaic word for mafazer.
Scattered. Who means them, right?
And even if you think about it, the truth is a base is often instead of a pay. It works both ways, by the way. Barzel, you know what the word for barzel is in Aramaic? Parzel. The base and the pay and the base are interchangeable a bit. So here's the other way around. Mifazer, the pay turned into a base. And a zayin, it's already known, right? A zayin in Hebrew turns into a dalet in Aramaic. Zahav becomes dahav. Zachar becomes dachar. Which, by the way, if you learn Steinmecker Targum, these things become more clear to you as time goes on. Don't think I just memorized, all of Aramaic or something. Okay, so just over the years, I've been doing it since I was a bacher, and so it's like, 30 years of Targum Unkelos has an effect after a while. Okay, so what are we saying over here? In your own words, truly.
Since Robert talks about a case of leaves of weeds and grapevine, even though he gathered them,
and settled them down.
But since if I get blown away by the wind and scattered, it's not the case where they've been scattered. So
that's right. You're likely to come back the next day and what?
Find them scattered about.
Find them all scattered about, or basically not find them, right? Leaves get all scattered about, you're not really going to find them either, really, right? So since that's true, therefore, they're kid mifuzar and dummy. It's like a case of mifuzar. Are these leaves mifuzar?
Yes.
No. He piled them up. He went Erev Yom Tov and he piled them up. He was a good boy. He read Beitsa. He knows the Mishnayos. The Mishnayos say if you want to use something, you have to go and pile it up the day before. The Mishnah says that about wood in a field. And the Shmuel says that even if it's in an enclosure, you need to pile it up. So he knew, I have to pile it up. He was a good boy. He went and piled it up. But then he comes to Rava, and he says, I'm a good boy. I piled it up. He said, you're Nama Aretz. Not enough to pile up leaves. It's not like wood. Wood, if you pile it up, what happens with wood when you pile it up?
Wood, if you pile it up,
then you're showing that your das is on it for the next day. Why? Because you know it'll be there the next day. And that's why we say maybe it has to be next to the city, maybe it has to be locked up.
You know it's going to be there.
But you know it's going to be there, one way or the other. Where you have a case of an enclosure is a place you know it's going to be there the next day because it's not going to be blown away. Because how likely is it to have a Hurricane Sandy roll in? Very unlikely. But with leaves, and you thought you're going to just go the day before and pile them up, and you even patted them down, but sorry, Charlie, it didn't help. Why? Because everybody knows wind can easily come in the middle of the night. It very often happens in the middle of the night. Wind comes, not normal wind comes, and all of a sudden, all it takes is one big gust of wind, and that's it. All your hard work is down the drain. And you really know that in the back of your head. Yes. Even though you claim to the Rav, I piled it up and I thought to use it the next day, he says, that's a bluff. Really, I know that you know the truth, that in the middle of the night, winds can come. What? You never up in the middle of the night and hear the winds suddenly start to pick up?
Yeah.
Happens every night in the middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning. when the wolves start howling, right? That's probably why they're howling, because the wind is howling, right? It gives them the idea. Right?
Wolves in the Eretz Yisrael.
Eretz Yisrael. But Rav lived in Bavel, so it doesn't matter. Point is, he says, since that's true, it's like mefuzah. What does it mean it's like mefuzah? It's as if you didn't prepare them. Why? Because normally preparing them does what? Shows us that your das was really on it. But as Rashi says, das being on it is dependent on being so mich on it also. That you rely on it being there. Well, that you tried to show that das is on it, but we don't really believe you. Because in the back of your mind you knew wind often blows up in the middle of the night. And as soon as a big gust of wind comes, they get blown away. So even if you came the next day and you found them piled up, it doesn't help you. We look at it as if it's mefuzar. It's kim mefuzar dummy.
Yep.
And that's why
It's
asur. But if you're really bent on using those grape leaves, your wife says you have to have grape leaves for her salad, or she's going to be really upset. So what can you do?
It noch mana. It's more alive. What is it noch?
That's like lanuach.
If you placed,
Right. A
mana,
mana is the Aramaic word for
currency.
no. There is such a thing. That's with a hay on the end, by the way. A mana that's money is I think with a hay on the end. But mana with an aleph on the end is
Portion.
that's true. There is another word, but again, not with the hay, not with an aleph on the end. I think it's with the hay on the end, and that's in Hebrew, by the way. Mana is a portion in modern Hebrew. That's right. Very good. Your vocabulary is excellent, but you're still wrong in this case because it has an aleph on the end and it's Aramaic. It's not Hebrew, so you're going to have to appeal to the Shabbatai dictionary.
A bucket, a cover, a pot.
Pot.
Mana really means a kli. Mana is the Aramaic word for kli. If you listen, by the way, if you ever want to really use the time of the chuppah well spent, listen when they read the Kesubah, because the Kesubah is written in Aramaic. And if you want to work on your Aramaic, listen to when they read the Kesubah. It talks about a mana over there, right?
What does it say about the money? What does it say about the money?
I think he has to provide her with proper dresses and so forth. The dress is also called a mana, because it's a kli. At the end of the day, we look at a dress as a kli. But anyhow, well, it's all in Aramaic, so it's good practice to listen to the reading of the Kesubah. Hopefully, again, just like Unkelos, if you do it every week, eventually it sticks in. Eventually, if you pay attention as you're reading the Unkelos, that was the word sometimes I even do that still. I stop in the middle of Unkelos and I look back to the pasuk and see which word is he now using it for, and then eventually you start to notice the correlation. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. Okay, so what's he saying in your own words, Sruli?
Put a kli on top of the leaves.
Because what will that do?
So that he already had his mom.
Because what?
Not just he had his mom.
Because the problem was...
Look, if the wind would blow it up
and then we say you weren't really relying on it being there the next day. But if you...
Put a kli on top of it.
Then it's less likely that...
It will get blown away.
So therefore we can say you did rely on it being there. And there's more like the wood, right? Why if I pile up wood is it okay? Because you don't imagine wood's going to get blown away. It would take a tremendously huge hurricane kind of a wind to blow the wood away. So therefore you do rely on it being there the next day. Same thing with the mana. Once you put a mana on top of it, how is it not going to be there the next day unless a huge hurricane comes? But that's so unlikely. Therefore we don't count that as a possibility really. And therefore we do count on it being there. If you count on it being there, then the Rashi at the beginning, right, you see how Rashi puts everything, almost everything in the Mishnah. If you go back to the Mishnah, all these concepts are gone over in the Rashi with just a word here and a word there. He covers all these bases. It's like he's giving a crash course in the subject that you're about to go into. And if you ever go to France, you can thank Rashi. Okay, so we ready to try the next little bit?
It says big Rashi over here, but
It's huge Rashis, huge Rashis.
So that's just referring back to the Fuzari of the...
When you use the computer now, it's going to bother, understand, right?
I'm sorry?
When you use the masach from the...
Which Masach? It's not on.
If I put it on, it's going to bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me.
So all this extra portion is referring back to the Fuzar of the wood. In the
Extra
copper.
portions? What do you mean extra portions?
The leaves that you don't cover with a flea. It's put in there just to emphasize the...
I think Rava's taking...
Yeah.
You could look at Rava as being a direct offshoot of Shmuel.
So,
The Shmuel came along and said, no matter what, no matter where, it's in a field, it's an enclosure, I always need it to be
yeah.
gathered up. So it sounds like, if you go through that part of the Gemora, the main thing is just it should be gathered up. If you do your job, you gather up things from Erev Yom Tov, you'll always be okay, right? Comes along Rava and says, no, don't make a mistake. Gathering was a mila, why? Because it normally shows your das is on it. But like Rashi hints to in the Mishnah, but if you can't be so clear it's going to be there the next day, then even gathering doesn't help. And I think Rashi got it from this Rava. And we also are going to see that that's part of the next question of what does the Hosachas do and what does the Samuch do, right? Now, also, these two things that are in our Mishnah, that one says it has to be Samuch to the ear and the other one says it has to have a Posachas, also I think you could touch up the same way. And according to Rashi, the Maila of Posachas, for example, is that you can rely on it being there the next day because it's in an locked enclosure. The other one says, no, you don't need it. As long as it's next to the city, people rely on things being there the next day, right? Yep. That's what I would say is possible touch in Rashi. What are you looking for?
Snake.
The what?
Chabal.
What's that?
A snake. A little mouse.
Oh, for what? For that?
Yeah.
I've never seen one.
It's supposed to be behind
I
the...
think, I don't know.
It's
I've
always...
never, you've used it before?
Yeah, sure, it's always behind here.
They did clean up this area, so you never know if they threw it out. Who knows?
Just spoke to him more. He said,
Oh.
it's over here.
Call him up again, ask him.
He's sleeping there.
All right, let's go on, gentlemen. Ezu, Karpef, etc.
who wants to read? Continue.
So remember that the Mishnah was asking that even if we don't go like the Mishnah, that maybe Shmuel was right, we don't go like the Mishnah, we still want to understand the Mishnah. I still have to understand the Mishnah. And it could be, the Gemara is a little bit mashma at the end, that we might not go like Shmuel, we might actually go like our Mishnah. As the Gemara says at the very end, the halach is like Rabbi Yossi. It sounds like we do look like our Mishnah, but that's not clear, not clear. Anyhow, the point being what? That in our Mishnah, it asked a question. You say Karpef is a Maila, like we said, you have to have one of two Mailas, either Mechunis or Karpef. If it's Mechunis, it could be even in an open field in our Mishnah.
Right.
But if it's a Karpef, you don't have to have been gathered it up the day before, even if it's just scattered about, and you didn't do anything particularly to prepare it for a Yom Tov, it's still not considered muksa, right? So now we said, but that means that Karpef is a Maila. For Karpef to be a Maila, we said, it may not always work, right? We said, because the whole idea of Karpef being a Maila is that your das will be on it.
Yeah.
So again, which kind of Karpef will help you, because your das will be on it. That's how you can learn the question in the Mishnah. We just said a Karpef helps, but which kind of Karpef helps? Does every kind of Karpef help? No. Some of them don't. Some of them do, some of them don't. So that's what the question is. And then Rabbi Yehuda said it has to be Samuch to be a Karpef that helps, to be a Maila. And Shmuel said, and Rabbi Yossi said, no, if it has a Posachas, it's enough. But it turns out there's two ways to learn our Mishnah. So the Gemara is going to ask a question. You want to try it, Shabbatai?
I'd rather...
Give Sruli a chance?
yeah, give him a chance. I've read it a few times.
Okay. Shabbatai is very confident that he knows it well.
I'm not at all confident. That's why I want him to read it.
I was giving you the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so you've been given the chance to read it if you want, Sruli.
Take it away. Is there a cargo? What's considered an enclosure?
That helps you to know that the wood is not muksa, even if it's still scattered about.
Die Boilehu. So the Oster Shaila. Hachikama.
Heichi.
It means where?
No, that's heicha, with an aleph at the end. Heichi is like the word eich in Hebrew.
How?
How did he mean to say?
Hachikama is how do you mean to say?
When now referring to Rabbi Yehuda specifically, when he said, right, how did he mean to this, when he said the following, and what did he really mean to say? So what are we quoting? The words of Rabbi Yehuda. What did he say? Kol
Shesamach le'ir.
that he said it has to be a carpet that's samach to the ear. Now we're asking, what did he really mean? Did he mean that the who, that is what?
Who the is le Posayach?
Posachas?
He has a key.
That it has a lock and a key? Did he mean that for sure you do need that? He's just adding that you need to have it samach. Is that what he meant? So when I look at Rabbi Yehuda, he says samach, I know it's two things. Like we were saying before, you need milas. Now we're asking a new shaila. To be the mile of karpef, how many sub-milas do you need to be the mile of karpef? Do you need it to be samach? Yes, we know for sure the Rabbi Yehuda needs it to be samach. But did he also mean that it needs to be posachas? That has a lock and a key?
Yeah.
As we said before. That gives it a mileage. You know it's going to be there the next day if it's under lock and key. So did he mean both? And he just mentioned one? He mentioned samach clear because he didn't need to mention posachas, but of course he meant it. And then if that's the pshat, then why did Rabbi Yossi say posachas?
The answer Rabbi Yossi Lamema. Rabbi Yossi coming to say Kevin the Israel Poscha.
Posachas. Once it has a posachas.
Philip Besoich Tchum Shabbos.
Nami. Then even if it's far away, like Rash said, even if it's far away at the end of the Tchum, it'll still be okay.
Yes.
So according to this way of learning, Rabbi Yehuda came along and said, what? To be a good karpef, the mila of karpef, that you don't have to have it mechunas, you can be mefuzer.
Yeah.
That will be only if it is samuch, said Rabbi Yehuda. And this pshat says that he means it has to be samuch and posachas.
Yes, but comes Rabbi Yossi.
Comes along Rabbi Yossi and says to him, no, doesn't have to have both of those milas, samuch and posachas.
Even if it has a key and it's forward to the
That's right, even one of those is good. Even a carpet that has just the one mila, posachas, is also good. Then it can be far away too. Maybe that's how to learn the machlokis. That's one possibility, that's their machlokis.
V'davka de Israel Posachas.
No. Oh.
Let's see.
Or maybe this is what Rav Yehuda meant to say when he said it has to be samuch. As long as it's samuch to the ear, then bain. Maybe that's what he meant. As long as it's samuch to the ear, I'm happy. It has a mile of karpef that you can now take the wood even if it's mefuzer.
Yep.
And I don't care about posachas at all. Right? Maybe that's Shitas Rabbi Yehuda. That's why he only mentioned samach, because he doesn't need posachas at all. And then, if that's what he's saying, then...
Also Rabbi Yossi Lamema, Rabbi Yossi coming to say, Afilu B'soich Tchum Shabbos, even inside the Bern of Shabbos,
you can still take it in. You don't need samach, in other words. But you do need posachas. Right?
Yep.
Aval, if
doesn't have a key,
then
low.
Right? According to the second version, Rabbi Yossi always needs a posachas.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, I only need samuch. I don't care about posachas. And Rabbi Yossi would be coming along to say, no, samuch doesn't care. I don't care about samuch. But it always has to have a posachas. If it has the posachas, then I don't care where it is. It could be anywhere within the Techum is good.
But in the first version, Rabbi, it says it needs a key.
Hold on.
Who says?
Rabbi
Yehuda says it needs a key.
He says it needs a key. In the first version.
That's right.
In the second version, it doesn't really matter whether it has a key or it doesn't have a key.
Right.
You see.
In Rabbi Yehuda.
In Rabbi Yehuda.
Right. That's the difference in the first and second version in Rabbi Yehuda.
So why doesn't it in the Mishnah mention the fact that he needs a key? Why is it not mentioned in the Mishnah?
We said according to Rashi, because if you look at it that way, if you're looking at
He
it that
assumes that
way,
everyone knows it's got a key.
That's right.
Key.
The
But why
noise.
does it specifically say here it needs a key in the first version?
in the first version, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't mention it because it's just understood.
What does he say in the first version?
Samuch.
Just Tsama? He says it and a Batachas, no?
Yeah, the Gemora is putting it in as the pshat,
Oh,
but that's not in the Mishnah. He never mentioned it. He actually never mentioned it.
I see.
We're saying that's what he meant.
Mhm.
Heichi ka'amar is like saying, what was his real intention when he said those words?
Mhm.
How did he say these words means, what did he mean when he said these words? When he said with somewhat clear, what did he really mean? What was behind his words? He said 3 words, somewhat clear. Thank you. What was behind that? Either, of course he meant somewhat clear, but did he mean somewhat clear plus and assume posachas, or he meant no, I don't care about posachas.
So that's the second version, but here they assume that he said the Pesachas, right?
That he didn't say it, but he meant it.
Right. That's quite an assumption.
Right? So if I say to you, this is a formal affair. I'm inviting you over, but you should realize it's a formal affair. I need you to wear a bow tie.
Right.
And you show up with a bow tie, but you're not wearing any other clothing. I say, Shabbatai, how could you come like that? You're completely naked. You're just wearing a bow tie. What kind of a person are you? He said, but that's all you said to me. You just said, I have to be wearing a bow tie. I said, yeah. You know why? Because everybody knows you have to be dressed. But a bow tie is optional. And I'm telling you, you have to wear a bow tie. I said, but you just said bow tie. You didn't mention the dress. Yeah, because everybody knows I mean dressed. You don't have to say that.
Alrighty.
Okay.
That's a bit of a serious nefesh, eh?
Everything is with Mesiras Nefesh. Without Mesiras Nefesh, we just stay in bed all day.
Sounds good.
How
Sounds
long
good.
can I stay in bed for?
It's sounding better as I get older.
That's right. But eventually, you start saying, I don't want to be like Sally. Getting out of bed.
Yeah, but we won't talk about that.
Sorry. I mean Sally. Sorry.
Sorry. No, sorry.
Okay, now, we have the 2 possibilities in our minds.
Means what contributed Karkav according to Rabbi Yehuda? It means
He said, you need to have samuch. But what did he mean?
Means you have to have a key.
We don't know. Maybe that's a
Do
pshat.
you mean you have to have a key or you don't have to have a key?
We don't know. That's the point. We don't know what Rabbi Yehuda really meant. Did he mention someone because that's the important element he means to talk about? But of course, it has to have a pasachas.
Yeah.
Or it's like the the proof that you have to wear a hat when you go out. You ever hear that proof?
I tried not
It
to.
says Vayetze Yaakov mi Beersheva. It says Yaakov left Beersheva, and you think Yaakov went out without a hat? That's a proof. You have to wear a hat when you go out. Okay,
Had like a head cover.
so maybe that's the pshat in when Rabbi Yehuda says it has to be samuch. He said, yeah, it has to be samuch, and of course it has to have posachas. That goes without saying. What do you think? You can just rely on there being wood there without it locking it up? It's like if you don't lock up your car at night, do you really think it's going to be there in the morning?
No.
Ask Shabbatai if he ever left his car unlocked at night, knowingly.
The Gemora has doubts about that because it says that in the second version it says with, we assume that he said with a key, but also without a key.
That's right.
I'm not sure about it.
No, in the second version we know that he only said samuch because that's all he needs. He doesn't need posachas.
Ah,
Now, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm saying, you know why he needs posachas? Because how else are you going to rely on being there the next day?
yeah.
But I think the pshat is that maybe the suffix of the Gemora is that maybe samuch is enough because it's right next to the city. And people who would want to come in, the Bedouins would want to break in and steal wood, but they're afraid to do it if it's, that's what Rashi said, mamish, samuch to the ear. Not a little bit close. That may not work. The Bedouins might still break in at night. But if it's mamish samuch, mamish is there's a house right next to it. Not your house, but the house of the last house in the city is right next to it. The Bedouins might still be deterred.
Yeah.
Right? So then there'll be the question, like with the leaves, can you rely on it be there the next day or not? The first version says, no, of course, he has to have a lock to rely on it's going to be the next day. You know there are Bedouins. But then the Gemara says, maybe not. Maybe he said Tsama because he really meant Tsama. And for him, that's enough. Because being right next to the city, Mamish, means it's right next to a house. Well, you think the Bedouins are going to try to, they're not going to chance getting caught. If it's right next to the city, it means right next to a house. The last house in the city, so it's right next to that house. They're not going to take a chance. That's another way of looking at it, right? It's a possibility.
So the key is the mina, is the actual key.
Hmm?
The key is the key.
The key is the kli.
Yeah.
Meaning like with the leaves.
Right.
That's the question. Do you need that kind of extra assurance? That would be the question. Is it like wood that you don't need an extra thing ensuring that it'll be there? Or is it like the leaves that you need an extra insurance? Like the kli. Exactly. That seems to be the suffix of the Gemara. Right?
We're still talking about Mufuzar according to Beitsa. No?
We're talking about the Mishnah. The Mishnah was all Rav Shimon Lazar's opinion of Beis Hillel.
Right.
That inside of an enclosure doesn't have to be mechunas. It can be scattered.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay.
But again, the assumption is, just like with the leaves, that it has to be something like Rashi said in the Mishnah. You're somich on it. You're relying on it being there the next day. So obviously, if everyone in the world was honest, it'll be there the next day, of course. What are you talking about? But not everyone in the world is honest. So how do you know it's going to be there the next day? So if it's under lock and key, good. But maybe you need both. Lock and key and next to the city. That's how you know for sure the Bedouins won't come in. The Rabbi Yehuda would say, but if it's far away, lock and key doesn't help me. It's just, they can still break in. What are you talking about? A determined Bedouin? You get it even then. Alright, anyhow, let's just go on.
Yeah. So then the Machlokas needs a keel now, or needs his tongue, because he needs a keel.
That's right. That's part of the Machlokas. But it goes both ways, because there's also a possibility that when Rabbi Yossi said you need a posachas, maybe he only said you need a posachas when it's far away. Maybe when it's close to the city, just like Rabbi Yehuda doesn't need a posachas, maybe Rabbi Yossi doesn't need a posachas. That's the third possibility.
Okay, now two.
Let's just read the Gemora and then we'll see the Rashis tomorrow. Tashma means
To bring a raya.
we're supposed to try to bring a raya. Now, normally a raya is from some other Mishnah or some other Beitsa. Here, ironically, you know what the actual raya is?
Vidiktani.
Midikatani, from the fact that we learned what?
Yosef, the call, Shenichnosin of a Sachas.
Shabbos. So all we bring, the proof is only bringing the words of the Mishnah. We had a question, how do you read this Mishnah? Oh, I'll prove it to you. And he just quote the Mishnah. It's very, very bizarre. Without Rashi, we've been completely lost here. We already said the Mishnah is very ambiguous. And then you try to clear it up by reading the Mishnah again. But I just said to you, the Mishnah is ambiguous. But we'll see in Rashi, no. There's a certain way that Rashi learns this that makes it a true proof.
Shmamina Rabbi Yossi title the Kula Kama.
Shmamina. So we hear from this that it's really Rabbi Yossi saying two different kulas. What's the two different kulas? If it's samach to the city, then what? You don't need a posachas. That's one kula.
Or it needs a key that's further away.
And if you have those posachas, then you don't need to be samach either. You can have it farther away. So either situation he's willing to be makel in and let you gather the wood.
That's
Taking the wood.
That's Rav Yosef.
Okay, we'll stop here.